Chapter 9: Breath Control, a Ladder for Personality Transformation. Step into being. To be beyond time and space with discontinuities brings virtuous inner transformation. It is to bring changes in the personality of a human being, which is otherwise really a very difficult task. Unless and until a person himself is not interested and fully determined to change his personality, it is not possible to bring any change in him. Personality change purely depends on the self-efforts for a long duration, along with complete determination and faith. This requires subjective inbuilt mental resolution. However, if one follows the right path unknowingly for a long time, this itself will modulate his personality. Then, the concerned person will be himself surprised to know all that happened to him. Scientifically speaking, causal, subtle, and gross body of each one of us vibrates with certain specific frequency and with definite amplitude. There can be various frequencies in the spectrum of each body, but only a few, and maybe one or two, may be predominant. Basically, these frequencies govern the behavior pattern of an individual. A person may be sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic by nature. The specific nature of an individual is predominantly determined by the various significant frequencies of vibration by his gross, subtle, pranic, and causal bodies. So in short, unless the frequency of vibration in micro and nanoscale of causal, subtle, and gross bodies are not modulated, an individual remains the same throughout his life, so far his thought process, lifestyle, and pattern of living is concerned. A dacoit can turn into a saint by the modulation of vibration pattern of his gross, subtle, and pranic bodies. Indian history clearly brings out that dacoit Valmiki of ancient times has changed himself to a saint of the highest order by reciting the name of the god Ram as Mara for a number of years, as he was not even capable of correctly pronouncing the name Rama. This mantra, the name of the Lord Ram, has really affected his gross, subtle, and causal bodies. The yantra of Valmiki, that is his physical body, to such an extent that gradually his yantra, the body, started radiating tantras, that is, the vibrations of the Ram itself. This has modified the personality of Valmiki in totality, and in due course he would write Valmiki Ramayana, one of the greatest epics of the world, which is worshipped and recited even today with highest respect by Hindus. This incident is indeed a miracle as far as the change and transformation in personality is concerned by the recitation of the mantra. Similarly, Kalidasa, who was considered as the greatest fool throughout his life, used to cut those branches of the tree where he himself used to sit, and used to fall after cutting these branches. He could transform his personality by mantra siddhi and became the greatest writer and was the author of world-famous classic Shakuntala. In our time, Mahatma Gandhi could change his erotic personality of his young age and could become Mahatma in the ripe age. He could liberate India by following the path of truthfulness and non-violence in true sense by merely using his mental power. He could mobilize the masses by his selfless activities. His book, My Experiments with Truth, is a significant contribution after modulation of his personality with time, along with various other contributions, including not by bread alone. Now, the basic question arises how the transformation of personality takes place. By horizontal worldly means such as adopting self-control, imposing restraints of all kinds on the self, by different forceful means, one can temporarily change his personality outwardly and can get some success, but within no time, he will revert back to the original pattern of thinking, lifestyle, and habits. Basically, the kinetic energy of a person cannot be controlled by kinetic means. Kinetic energy can only be checked, but again, the resistance inserted by the evil forces built in the personality in following this path will be so high by the force and impact of the kinetic energy of original old habits, thinking, and deeds that forces an individual to revert back to the same personality as he was. An erotic person by nature and with the inbuilt habitual inclination will never be satisfied by indulgence in sex with various women and by indefinite number of times throughout his life. A drunkard cannot satisfy himself by any other means except drinking, although his liver gets affected. Habits are the part of inbuilt personality, and these cannot be controlled by indulgence, nor these can be controlled by non-indulgence by willpower. These habits can only be temporarily checked by horizontal worldly means, and as soon as willpower is loosened, the person falls back to his original habits. However, by deep awareness and watchfulness along with breath awareness, habits can be transformed. Deep self-awareness keeps vigilance like a proven non-local effect in science that changes the path of haphazard movement of particles in an organized, systematical movement. A hungry person can restrain from the food by the forceful coverage of fast on himself or by some other restraint, but as soon as that restraint is over, he may jump like a hungry lion or a dog on food. One can only control the self in totality when from inside or in the depth of his mind he does not really in true sense wants or feels the craving for the same inbuilt original habits. How a beggar can say that he has renounced the kingdom since he is not the king? If a king says that he has renounced his kingdom, it has significance and honor, which indeed is the real renouncement. In short, personality change is not the outward gimmicks and nor insincere temporary efforts. It is basically an inward change in totality, and it is really a very involved task that needs years of long craving for improvement and various practices for long duration. By breath control, by kumbhika, and by shunyaka processes, it is indeed possible to change the thinking process and the pattern of subtle vibrations instantaneously to handle the situation at the particular moment. But as soon as the effect of shunyaka and breath control are ceased to influence, the person resumes the same personality. However, for years of practice, if the pattern is really maintained, the personality change does occur. If a person is able to change the rate of breath from 16 breaths to 8 or 10 breaths in a minute in course of time, and if he starts breathing regularly and automatically 8 times a minute in place of 16 times which he was breathing earlier, then there is definitely a permanent change that occurs in his personality. That is, from Rajasic personality, he would change his personality to sattvic in nature. Then only he thinks differently, eats differently, and associates with a different class of people. The above clearly shows that his thoughts, words, and deeds really got modified, since these are the subtle qualities and have nothing to do with the outward influence. The change of breath pattern has direct influence on human personality and also on one's own longevity. To sum up, it can be said that the easiest way to change one's personality is by full sankalpa and with complete determination, as well as with the recitation of initiated mantra such that his body vibrates with the same frequency as that of mantra, and his body becomes the tantra of the mantra by divine virtues cultivated by the recitation of the mantra. This is indeed a very long process, but without any shortcomings, risks, and drawbacks. In one birth itself, one can change his personality. The accelerated way to change personality is to go for breath control, change of breath pattern, and by Shunyaka method along with mantra recitation such that one is totally immersed in the mantra during recitation. This can only change the vibrations of the mind, and mind gets merged gradually in soul and consciousness under the effect of the recitation of the mantra. Thus, mind is annihilated, pure consciousness transformed into as divine light. Then he enter in an era of beyond time, in timeless zone. From here, he returns back with low energy and high frequency vibrations that transform his mind, and in due course, gradually, his personality gets modulated. Along with the above, if human being follows the techniques of prana control, awakened awareness, and skyness static vision, then the change of personality is accelerated. Since these techniques remove the age-old impressions of vasanas on the human mind. In short, self-determination, mantra recitation, breath control, shunyaka, life force, mind awareness, skyness vision, mergence in timeless era beyond time and space, gradually transform a person with a changed personality and makes him a divine person who is adored by his achievement of divine grace in a very short span. The above techniques are basically turning a corroded piece of iron into the gold just by the touch of Paras stone, which is nothing but stepping in timeless era of micro or nanoseconds. This allows him to climb the highest peak of self-realization in this birth and becomes a Jivan Mukt, that is, a liberated soul, by modulating his personality in all respects. By cultivating divine virtues, even if he cannot reach the highest peak, it must be remembered that any honest effort made by him in upward direction will positively raise him higher in all respects in this life. And time to come in the forthcoming life, he will certainly be realized soul with the refined personality, having all divine virtues. In a nutshell, the easiest, safe, and reliable way to personality transformation is to manifest the consciousness by being with the self, to step into being, and to be beyond time and space with the infinite consciousness with discontinuities, to manifest the self-consciousness gradually. However, the first and very significant step is to be with the breathing process, particularly with the discontinuity between the breathe in and breathe out. This will enhance the subtle qualities required to transform the personality. In fact, regulation of breathing is the ladder for personality transformation.